This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where we discuss the latest and greatest news in the world of sports. As always, I am Ben.
And I am Alex.
Did you have a good 4th of July?
I did. I enjoyed it quite a lot, I guess you could say.
Quite a lot. There you go.
I was going to say quite, and I just fumbled on the next word.
So how was your trip?
It was good.
Give everyone a breakdown.
The lake was nice. It was.
Was it full? Was it full?
Dude, it was so full. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. It was really full. Really good weather. Not too hot, not too cold. A lot of fun, yeah. I enjoyed it a lot. Not too much of a sunburn, so.
And your Blink-182 album, California?
It's amazing.
Yeah?
Yep.
I've heard some of it, because we were texting on, what was it, Thursday night?
Yep.
Thursday night, you told me it was out already, so I told my girlfriend, she's a big fan, so she downloaded it. I listened to some of it, as we talked to before the show. I don't know if I've heard it all because I've had it on shuffle, but it seems good. It seems like vintage, that like punk style, which they did for such a long time. So I like it. It's not bad.
I thought it was great.
I always like something new to listen to. So.
Oh yeah, I was all for it, and I've listened to it easily, probably 10 times or plus, and I'm talking like the whole CD.
That's good, man. That's good.
How was your 4th?
It was nice. So I worked most of the day. I worked from about 8 o'clock to around 4:30ish. Then we just went to my girlfriend's brother's house, had a barbecue, did some fireworks. Nothing too fancy. Your traditional 4th of July, I guess. So it was fun. It was nice.
That's good.
And now I'm here with you today.
That's true. And now we're here, and we have a good show for you.
Yeah, this is a great show.
It's
a lot
NBA
of
specific.
NBA free agency news. Since we last spoke on Thursday, we have just about everyone who's a free agent. There's still some big names out there, which we'll talk about in later segments, but a lot of deals getting done, some same faces in some new places, and none of them bigger than Kevin Durant going to the Golden State Warriors.
Let's jump right into it.
It's a 2-year deal. It's a player option after 1 year, so you'd almost assume he's going to opt out after this year to become a free agent after 1 year with Golden State. Mm-hmm. Obviously, depending on how things go, you would think he would stay there and sign a monster deal next year with the salary cap going up again from this year. But what was your reaction to the Thunder signing Durant? It broke yesterday around the 10 o'clock-ish hour here in California, so 1 o'clock Eastern. What was your reaction to KD going to the Warriors?
It was really interesting. I mean, it was almost like we saw it coming, you know. I wasn't surprised at all. I really wasn't. I was more so waiting to hear if it wasn't the Warriors because it just seemed like that's where he was going to go from the get-go, you know? So I wasn't overly surprised. That's the downside about NBA free agency is it's just – I like that. This is why I like the NFL more is because there's more parity. You can have teams that aren't as good, actually contend. It's almost like a foregone conclusion now that Oklahoma City – is going to take a step back and that the Warriors are more than likely going to be the best team in basketball and they're going to win and so on and so forth. They're going to win it all. So it's disappointing to see it in that sense. But, it's interesting to see how it's going to go. It's like a game. It's like a 2K basketball game. It's like you're just making your own.
It's like a franchise draft.
Yeah, it's like you're making your own dream team.
I thought that too. I felt like when I heard that I was really surprised. I thought he would stay with Golden State. Or not with Golden State, I'm sorry, with OKC. Because he really was in a great position. You could say he was one game away from another finals appearance. They were up 3-1 over the Warriors. They really, I thought, outplayed them. Game 6, they choked that game against the Warriors. They were up by 10 going to the fourth quarter. Game 7, they had a chance as well. They were really right there with historically the best team in basketball, 73-9 in the regular season. So I was really surprised he did not go there. I felt like they became a better team with the deal they made on draft day to ship Ibaka out to bring in Oladipo, Ilyasova, and Sabonis. So I feel like that made them a better team. And I felt like it would have helped the Thunder in their pursuit to keep Durant. Obviously, it doesn't seem like it did. It's kind of like he's taken... You might compare it to the easy way out. I'm not really going to say that. Obviously, he thought he made the best move for his own career and interest, legacy. You mentioned they've got to be the odds-on favorite. The Las Vegas put their over/under on wins for them this season at 68.5.
Nobody's had a big four like that.
So really 69.
Yeah.
Which I would probably take the under because the Warriors went 73-9 last year. That's going to be hard to top. Even with the addition of Durant, you have to have a lot of things going for you. Injuries, you can't really have any injuries.
Mm-hmm. And Draymond Green's the only player that played every one of those winning games last year.
Right, so you have the injury concern. You have the chemistry meshing with Durant. You have a lot of mouths that want to eat in Golden State. You really have three. Draymond's not much of a scorer. He's more of an all-purpose guy, but I guess you can include him. So really four mouths that want to put up 15 to 20 shots a game. That's just not going to happen.
You see, I did enjoy the text that apparently Steph sent to Kevin Durant. He pretty much said that he doesn't care who's the face of the franchise. This is the rumor that somebody was close to the situation said. But he said he pretty much doesn't care who's the face of the franchise or who outscores who. All he cares about is winning championships. He says, how's it, like, imagine, how good of a shooter you are now. He's like, how would you like to shoot on, uncontested threes?
That's what I was talking about that with one of my coworkers yesterday. Because when we were working, it was when the deal came out. So I was talking to him about it on my break. And I was like, think about it this way. If it's a close game, I'm going to say compare it to Game 7 of the Finals when it was tied for like the last 4 minutes. Then Kyrie hit that three in the final minute. You could have Durant really being the leader of the isolation, like in a one-on-one situation, attacking. And then he could maybe kick out to a wide-open Steph Curry or a wide-open Klay Thompson, like in a spot shooting role, as opposed to a guy working off the dribble and pulling up.
Yeah.
Like, think about how dangerous that could be.
I mean, how many people have really, in the NBA, how many people have really, team-wise, have premier defenders, let alone 3 to 4 premier defenders that can guard 4 of the best at their respective positions?
Yeah, like
I think there's 4 of the top 25 players in the NBA or something like that.
Every single player in that starting 5 is so versatile. You could have Iguodala guard the 2, 3, the 4.
Yeah.
Draymond Green, the 3, 4, the 5. Durant, the 3, the 4. Klay, the 2, the 3. I guess Steph's the only one that can really only guard the point guard.
Yeah, I mean
he's a smaller guy.
He's guarded shooting guards before, but it's a weird thing to say.
The one thing that I think this hurts the Warriors is they're going to lose some depth because they're bringing in a lot of money here. Barnes is going to go to the Mavericks.
Yeah, they lose Barnes. Did Livingston? They did extend him
They said they're going to bring back Sean
offer.
Livingston. Leandro Barbosa is a free agent, so maybe they can get him for like a veterans mid-level exception. We'll have to see on that. He's still a free agent.
They can go get a guy like
Bogut's going to leave as well.
Bogut's
He's looking at going to the Mavericks, so they
need a big guy now.
Well, they did
Dwight
just sign.
Howard.
Oh, we'll talk about Dwight. He has a new team, but
he does.
So they did sign Zaza Pachulia on a 1-year deal, about $3 million. He's really, really a aging veteran, though. He kind of fits that Anderson Varejao role, a guy who I think comes off the bench, plays a handful of minutes a game, so he's not really
a
long-term option.
They should talk to the Kings. The Kings have a surplus of centers.
Well, after this draft, they do. So
they can't have one of them, but they might be able to have another one.
But what do you think about this for the Thunder? Okay. I feel so gutted for the Thunder and the general manager, Sam Presti. They feel like they did everything right, and then they just kind of got like stabbed in the throat by Durant leaving. I feel bad for Westbrook too.
I think if there's what they should do now, I think the smartest move for. Oh, I gotta stop real quick. We had air conditioning put in the other day. This is amazing. This is great air conditioning.
Well, we don't really need it today. It's like a high of 85.
I'm a little cold. I'm sorry to get off track.
We have like 80s this whole week in Sacramento, and last week we were at 100.
Can I get a Snuggie in here?
Can I just get a blanket and a pillow?
I'm glad I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. I'm sorry to get sidetracked. I think the best thing for the Thunder is probably, in my opinion, trading Russell Westbrook.
I agree.
He's probably going to not want to. I mean, he might want to test and do what Durant did in free agency next year. And they have some young pieces now. Trade him for some more young pieces and build a team that might be able to contend rather than, wait for the worst with him possibly leaving too. And then, you can get some pieces for a trade with Westbrook.
Yeah,
you could trade him to the Lakers and get Russell and then some.
I'd say if they decide to keep Westbrook, I would not be surprised if he averages a triple-double this year.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be the guy basically putting the team on his back. But I agree with you. I would look to trade Westbrook.
They need pieces.
I think the one problem the Thunder might have in their pursuit of trading Westbrook is they have to find a team that believes they can sign him to a long deal. Because no team is going to give up, like you're mentioning, a ton of young guys for Westbrook for 1 year to say, okay, you traded me here. I don't really like it here. I'm going to go somewhere else in free agency.
Yeah.
So they're not going to give up the whole franchise for a 1 year guy. So it's got to be a place they think can get Westbrook to sign a long-term deal. Where that could be, you mentioned the Lakers. Who knows, though?
Only reason I mentioned the Lakers because I know that D'Angelo Russell was already up for trade talks before free agency even started.
Right. So
he's a young guard. So
that's going to be interesting. I think they're definitely going to look to do that. Who knows if they're going to? Because I think finding a partner that thinks they're going to sign him to a long-term deal is going to be tough.
It'll be tricky.
But like you mentioned, the Thunder went from a team that you could say could be NBA champions to
a team that might struggle
maybe makes the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, it sucks for OKC for their fans.
I mean, it's a loaded West to start with.
Yeah,
and
now
there's a lot of teams coming into this season that are going to be better. They're not going to be maybe finals contenders, but they're going to be teams that are going to push around the order that is under Golden State.
Yeah, now you have the team that came out of the West the last 2 years in Golden State becoming that much better, and the main challenger to them last year in the Thunder becoming that much worse.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even necessarily say worse, but I would say definitely taking a step back.
So you have that. You have like a bigger cushion now between the top of the mountain and a team that was there going down.
Yeah.
So I find that really, really hard. I think this is a bad move for the NBA because it does exactly what they don't want to happen. They want to make the league competitive, and now you have really, on paper, of course, barring injuries, chemistry issues, you have a juggernaut in Golden State, and then you have that next tier is like Cleveland, maybe the Spurs, and then you have a huge drop-off from there with really
just
playoff teams or the rest of the league,
Yeah.
So
because then you have teams like the Raptors who have weird years where they're good and then not good and then they're put apart and they're make the playoffs again. So it's interesting to see. I mean, the Thunder will still contend for a playoff spot in my opinion because you still have a top 3 guard in the NBA, and it's going to be hard not to, especially with the way he plays, He at times played better when Durant wasn't on the floor. So
yeah,
if you look at it that way.
He gives it his all every single game. He's obviously now the leader of that franchise. I say he puts up at least 25 shots a game. I could see him honestly averaging 30, 10, and 10.
Wow.
Because he's gonna be asked to do everything.
Yeah.
I guess you could say Oladipo now is like that second scorer role, I guess. And I mean, it's not bad, but it's not Kevin Durant.
No, I mean, you're replacing a former and has the potential to possibly be an MVP again, I mean, that's another thing that Steph's also said in his text, apparently, is he said, I don't care about this and that. He goes, if you win another MVP, I'll be right in the front row, clapping and cheering you on. So Steph just really seems like he's all about the rings.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, he hasn't shown up really in both these final appearances he's had. The first one, Iguodala was the Finals MVP. The second one, just recently lost. So he seems more of a team guy as opposed to a me guy. So I'm not surprised at that. And they say that all year long, it was really Draymond Green who was the catalyst of this, but recruiting Durant to the Warriors, right from the get-go.
Yeah, I guess just kicking people was his way of doing it.
Just kicking Steven Adams and
just kicking fools,
kicking LeBron.
Kicking that Neanderthal Steven Adams.
But, I guess so. So now you have Durant on the Warriors. You have really, I guess you could say the first big four.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Fierce four. I don't know what you want to call it.
Fab Four.
The Fantastic Four. Well, it's already been used, but yes, because you had like really the start of the big three with like Boston, with Pierce, Garnett, and Allen. And then you had Wade, Bosh, LeBron. So now you have like the first
Big four
starting up.
Man, you could even look at him as like a big four with a decent sized five.
With Iguodala.
Yeah.
Right.
Iguodala's not a scrub.
Yeah, he's a good player. You know, I'd say he's an above average player.
Iguodala could be on any other team in the NBA and be the best, if not the one of the best on that team.
Yeah, he was great in Philly before he went to Golden State. So, and he really, I think Iguodala is a huge asset, and really with the addition of Durant, because he's not going to be asked to score much. He's going to be asked to come in and play defense primarily, because they're not going to need his offense except for that slashing role.
Yeah.
Because you have really three prolific scorers in Clay, Steph, and Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. And then you have Draymond Green, who gets a lot of hustle points, I call him, like offensive rebounds, fighting for loose balls, boxing out, really. He's going to get a lot of those points. I don't see him being more of a perimeter three-point shooter anymore, maybe a guy who plays inside more. So you have really three great scorers and two guys who can really chip in their own ways.
How many teams could really say or have ever been able to say that they have arguably the best four players at their respective positions on the same team in the same starting lineup?
Man, you could really say that. Like,
you can say Steph, people think, is the best at his position. Some people will argue Clay is the best at that position. Some people will say Durant is the best at his position.
That's so true. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, and with the way that why am I blanking on his name?
Draymond Green.
Draymond Green, thank you. The way Draymond Green plays that position, like the slash, you could say he does that the best. You know,
I haven't thought about that, but you make a really good point.
It's really like you're playing with, like when you play with the all-star teams in NBA or something. That's really what it feels like. Yeah.
So this is the first team, the Golden State Warriors, now with 4 All NBA performers from the previous year. Mm-hmm. So,
like I said, in their starting five, it's 4 of the top 25 players in the NBA.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Obviously, on paper, it looks like you could say the best starting lineup ever, maybe the best team ever. We'll have to see how they do that. But they have
Watch them just come out and win 30 games.
They have huge expectations. It's really
easy to fall short.
It's finals win or bust. Mm-hmm. And really, you could say 74 wins or bust, because the last year's, they only won 70 games this year. They won 73 without Durant last year. They're not as good of a team, which I don't really play into the record much. I really don't care about your record as long as you get to where you are. So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see how that works out with KD to the Thunder. I'm surprised, or not the Thunder, to the Warriors from the Thunder. I'm surprised.
It's so weird to say. Yeah, I'm surprised.
I know.
Too.
I'm still looking at like Photoshop photos, and it's like, whoa.
You think he'll be number 35?
I believe so. I believe he's staying with that. I know he wears 35 to pay tribute to his high school coach who passed away.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's why he wore it in college with the Sonics, Thunder. Mm-hmm. So I would think so. I don't know why he wouldn't.
Before we take our first break, that was one funny thing I saw where it was, all these fans burning jerseys and stuff and whining that Durant left. And it was this guy that was like, yeah, feels weird having something taken away from you thought you deserved, doesn't it, Thunder fans? It was just a picture of the Seattle Supersonics logo. Yeah,
they feel the same way. They had Durant for 1 year, and then, we're going to ship to OKC now.
Yeah, no more team for you, Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I like it.
Yeah, we'll have to – I don't know. I'm interested for the season to start already just to see that that Fantastic Four, whatever you want to call it, get into playing.
Fab Four is 5.
And we already had the Fab 5, so I don't think you'd call it the Fab 4.
No, yeah. You can't call it the Fab 4. We'll think of something. We'll think of something, and when we figure it out, we'll let you guys know.
I like the Fierce Four.
The Fierce Foursome? The Fearsome Foursome, no. The Fearsome Foursome was the name of the Los Angeles Rams D-line when Merlin Olsen was there, like in the 60s.
So that's already been used, too.
Yeah, we'll think of something cool.
Yeah, we got to think of something.
We'll think of something real cool. But we're going to take a quick break here at the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. You guys don't go anywhere. Ben and I will be right back with some more NBA free agency news.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast alongside Alex and his 6 shooters. I am Ben. Moving in now, still talking about some NBA free agency. You're going to recap a lot more deals that have gone on within the past few days since it opened up on Friday. Alex, there's a lot of big names here. A lot of guys who are staying, a lot of guys who are going, but mainly it's about the money. That's been the big storyline.
Dear Lord, yes, sir, it has been. It's been insanely about the money. Do you want me to get into that, or do you want to?
Well, we can sort of touch up on some of the big name free agents.
Okay.
And then we can talk about their contracts, what we think about, because really it was a historic NBA free agency, the most money ever spent.
Well, let's get into this. You and I read your Twitters generally often because I like to see things you react to so we can talk about them later on.
Thank you.
And so I forget who you tweeted about. Maybe Conley?
I did tweet about Conley.
And I was sitting there just laughing because you made 100% sense where you said, how are you going to give somebody this much money when they haven't even been top 5 at their position in their career?
So Conley ended up re-signing with the Grizzlies. He signed the richest contract in NBA history. 5 years, $153 million.
And Mike Conley is a better basketball player than me, but he is not the richest contract in NBA history deserving. I think, was he a guard?
Yeah, point guard.
Point guard. He's not. No.
So I tweeted on. I think he signed his deal on Friday.
Yeah.
So I tweeted on Friday. Mike Conley is now the highest paid player in the NBA, about a little over $30 million a year, and he's never even been an All-Star. And I was like, well, I'm gonna give Conley some credit. The West is stacked. Think about Western Conference point guards. You have Westbrook.
It's a lot of an impact. Yeah.
Westbrook, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Mike Conley. There's a lot of great.
Whoever the Kings decide to put there, there's so many point
Darren
guards.
Collison?
Yeah,
but anyways,
probably.
So I was like, there's a lot of great point guards. So I'm going to give credit to Conley.
Yeah.
But he obviously does. I'd say LeBron deserves to be the highest paid player.
Yeah, but see, he's just going to keep doing the 2-year with the one year option.
Right, and technically LeBron is still a free agent. He has not signed a contract yet. So technically he's still on the market.
I think he's just soaking this up right now.
Well, of course he is. He's having the summer of his life.
I feel like this has to be way different than the last 2 for him.
But anyways, what I said about Conley was credit to Mike Conley. Congratulations to him. Great contract. Kudos to Conley. But I was like, here's what I compared it to. Because Memphis also signed Chandler Parsons. They signed Chandler Parsons to a max deal. He's 4 years, $98.5 million. Mm-hmm. So I read this stat that between Conley and Parsons' contracts combined in Memphis, it makes up 51.7% of their salary.
Wow.
So all you really added to this team was Parsons because they already had Conley. What I said was, for that amount of money, I'm letting Conley walk.
Yeah.
Because
I would too.
I didn't compete with him. Now, granted, the Grizzlies did have a lot of injuries last year. Gasol missed time. They had a ton of injuries.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay? But I would let him walk because with him, they didn't even contend for a championship. So why am I going to throw everything at Mike Conley when I don't – this is even before KD went to Golden State. I don't really have a solid chance of competing in the Western Conference for a championship with Mike Conley. Why am I going to throw everything at him? I wouldn't personally do it. I realize you have to have great players to compete, and the object of the game is to field the best team, win the most games, compete. But for that amount of money, I'm letting him walk. Because with him, I'm still not contending for a championship. And then you add Parsons. Parsons is a good player. I'd say he's about above average small forward, but he's not worth that contract either. So you add Parsons to this team, I still don't see them being more than a top half tier team in the West.
Yeah.
I still see them behind a team like the Spurs.
Okay.
I guess you can throw them ahead of the Thunder now with Westbrook being gone. I put them in that Portland Trailblazers role, a decent team, but I don't see them really maybe winning a playoff series. That's about it. So I would let him walk, but they give him the richest contract in NBA history. So
it's just so backwards to me. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
But all these guys, I mean, I read, okay, Steph Curry's on a 4-year, $44 million deal.
Yes.
Matthew Dellavedova gets 4 years at $39 million. So he's making $5 million less than Steph Curry.
It's a crazy world.
Jordan Clarkson re-signed with the Lakers. He's at 40.
Yes,
he's at 4 years for $50 million. Jordan Clarkson is making more than Steph Curry.
Unanimous MVP Steph Curry.
Yes.
That's I don't. Well, I mean,
Matthew Dellavedova is making as much guaranteed money as Darrell Revis.
Oh my God.
Matthew Dellavedova, and nothing against Dellavedova, but I mean,
he's got his own shoe deal, man.
Okay.
The Deli ones.
Okay.
He's got it.
We're just gonna stop there. But like anyway, so breaking down some more of the top guys, Andre Drummond re-signs with the Pistons, 5 years, $130 million. That's pretty much edge and stone. Him being a restricted free agent, he's really their best player. So
Dirk signed today on a 2-year deal with the Mavericks, worth $40 million.
Yeah, so Dirk is locked up there for 2 more years. He was rumored to maybe looking at Golden State, but now with Durant, you can really cross off any other name going to the Warriors.
Any other big name.
Yeah, so Al Horford, he has a new team, Alex. He goes from the Hawks to the Celtics. Horford signs a 4-year, $113 million deal. I think that's a great move for Boston.
I do too. I think
a
that's
team that was
solid.
Competing there in the East, and now you add the addition of Horford with guys like Avery Bradley.
You mean to Charlotte? You said
No.
You said to Boston.
Yeah, Boston Celtics. Al Horford.
I'm sorry. I was thinking somebody else. You're good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you add him to a good team in Boston who was there in the Eastern Conference.
They were up there. They were right up below.
People like Avery Bradley, Isaiah Thomas. That's a really good pickup for Danny Ainge.
You have another big man, Pau Gasol, who's confirmed that he has agreed to a contract with the Spurs. It's a 2-year deal worth more than $30 million.
I think this is a good move for the Spurs as well. Pau Gasol is a very good passing big man. You can pair him alongside of LaMarcus Aldridge and have 2 really big bodies down there. Perhaps this means the end for Tim Duncan. Maybe he steps away and retires.
Yeah, maybe goes
into a coaching role. I really don't know. He didn't play much for them last year.
Coaching.
Like an assistant under Popovich. I could see that happening.
I don't know about right away, but yeah.
But with Gasol, I think that's a great move for the Spurs.
I will say, too, a lot of these 2-year deals, keep in mind, too, they have a second-year option, too.
Right, so they'll be free agents next year when the salary cap goes up again. Some more news. So DeMar DeRozan re-signs with the Raptors, 5 years, $139 million. You mentioned last week that he was in talks with the Raptors primarily.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not much of a surprise there. Bradley Beal is staying in D.C., 5 years, $128 million with the Wizards. Nicholas Batum as well stays. Hassan Whiteside stays. So not much moving there with the big guys, with the exception of Horford and KD.
Well, I do have a big man that did move, and that is former Laker Roy Hibbert did agree to a deal with the Charlotte Hornets. It's a 1-year deal worth $50 million. He's been tasked in replacing Al Jefferson pretty much. So
yeah, because Al Jefferson is
he
gone.
went to Indiana.
Right, Indiana I think is making some great moves.
They're doing good stuff.
They had Jeff Teague, Thaddeus Young. Now you add as you mentioned there,
Hibbert.
Yeah.
Speaking of Steph Curry, Seth Curry agreed to a 2-year, $6 million deal with the Mavericks, leaving the Kings after a pretty good season, to matter of fact. A couple players that we talked about earlier. We do have Pachulia. I always forget how you say his name.
Zaza.
Yeah, Zaza.
Great name.
Filling the center role for the Warriors now on I want to say it's a 2-year deal or 1-year deal worth $2.9 million.
Yeah, 1 year.
Lance Thomas has agreed to re-sign with the Knicks. And one of my favorite names in the NBA, Luke Ricard Maba Amute.
Luke Rashard Umba Amute.
Yeah, Rashad. Sorry, I always forget the Rashad part. Luke Rashad, and then it's Umba Amute. He's on the Kings a few times.
Yes.
He signed a 2-year deal worth $4.5 with the Clippers. So he's returning to the Clippers. I have a question for you because it was something that was interesting to look at because we did talk, and speaking of the Sacramento Kings with Seth Curry, what do you think of some of the moves they made after
Kings?
Yeah, after what a lot would call a questionable draft day?
So the Kings, they missed out on Rondo. Rondo signed with the Bulls.
They apparently just didn't try to really re-sign him.
Yeah, so Rondo goes to the Bulls, really feels a need there. They don't have Derrick Rose anymore, so no surprise there. I think that's a good move for the Bulls. Rondo's a great passing point guard. He's not going to come in and score. He really set up Jimmy Butler, I think.
Okay.
So the Kings, they added Matt Barnes.
Yeah, second stint with him.
Played for them before. He's from Sacramento, so he's a local guy. He's a really good defender, really physical. I can see him maybe adding some toughness to this team.
Okay.
They signed Garrett Temple as well. He's a two-guard, played with the Wizards.
Yeah, 3-year, $24 million contract. Something I was actually a deal I was surprised by, but I was like, oh, cool. They signed former UCLA standout Aaron Aflalo to a 2-year, $25 million deal.
Yeah, you could say that's probably their best free agent acquisition. Aflalo, a good three-point shooter, a perimeter guy. I say he probably steps in front of Ben McLemore there at that two-guard position. But I think when you look at the Kings, I really feel bad for teams like them because we mentioned it on our last show. They're really just getting the best of the rest because you have the top teams signing all the big-name guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also what's interesting, too, is Dion Waiters is apparently rumored to be getting a lot of interest from a lot of places, including the Kings. I think if they sign him, I think this draft turns into something that might have actually been, in hindsight, a good thing.
I'm not sure if they're going to go after Waiters now because they did sign Aflalo. They do play similar styles in a similar position as well. I'm not a big Dion Waiters fan. He only, for a career, he's shooting 31% from three. Mm-hmm. So that's obviously not that great. And he's kind of I look at him as kind of like a head case. He always seems to have troubles. He had some troubles in Cleveland, also as well as Oklahoma City with some players. So yeah. I'm not sure if I'd go after Waiters. I'd kind of skip on him. I'd probably sign J.R. Smith over Waiters. He's as well a free agent still.
That's very true.
But yeah, so some other big-name guys, Dwight Howard. He has a new team. He has gone to the Hawks. They have a need with Horford gone. He's 3 years, $70.5 million. So the Hawks really traded Horford for Dwight Howard.
In a sense.
Yeah, and I think that's a terrible move.
I know you're not a fan of Dwight.
I'm a big critic of Dwight Howard. I'm not a fan of Dwight Howard. I really look at him as not a good teammate, a guy who doesn't bring much more production to the table. I think Al Horford is a much better player as well, and I think this really hurts a team like the Hawks. You get rid of Jeff Teague, now you get rid of Horford and really trade him in there with Dwight Howard. A team who in the last couple of years under Mike Budenholzer, who came from San Antonio, a team that's really been top 2, top 3 team in the East, I see them really dropping down here this season upcoming. So
okay,
I'm not a big fan of Dwight Howard. I just
I'm quite familiar.
Yeah, so Jeremy Lin's also got a new team.
Yes,
He's going to the Nets, 3 years, $36 million. I think that's a decent enough move. So
give me a couple more names, and we'll go ahead and hit our last break before getting out of here for this day.
You mentioned Aaron Aflalo.
Yes,
Joakim Noah is officially a New York Knick. 4 years, $72 million.
They're building quite a team over there.
Mentioned Al Jefferson going to the Pacers, 3 years, $30 million. That's not a bad contract either. Only $10 million a year. I really like that one. So Lou Aldeng is going to the Lakers, 4 years, $72 million, as well as Timofey Mozgov, 4 years, $64 million.
No.
Last year he averaged 6 points and 3 rebounds.
And 2 posterizing dates, too.
I was tweeting about this. I was like, maybe with him in L.A. now, Blake Griffin can dunk on him more.
That's what I'm excited for.
So
right in his house.
So with Mozgov, it got like averaged out that with his contract, he would, based off how many points he scored in the finals last year, it would be like $9 million a point.
Good Lord. It's like Sam Bradford and having like $1 million per touchdown
per touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think more so than anything, I think this is just all these free agency is just terrible for the league. Every guy is making at least basically $10 million now if you've been around long enough. Like Jan Mahimi goes from the Pacers to the Wizards at 4 years, $64 million.
Wow.
This guy's been a backup his whole entire life.
Okay, interesting.
And pretty much everyone is. Brandon Jennings goes to the Knicks 1 year, $5 million. I guess that's a bargain. I mean, oh man, I just don't. It's really, really. I think this is really bad, especially because every contract is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you have guys. Oh, I'm gonna get my money. I'm not really feeling 100% today. Maybe I'll just take a day off. I don't know. I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but I'm not a fan of the NBA and their free agency.
The way they handle it.
The way they handle it. Yeah, I hate it. So
well, one last
know.
bit of information before we go on our break. Teams are still calling to check on the unsigned LeBron James, but I'm told. Sorry, I'm reading this from a beat writer, but he is told that LeBron's agent politely informs him that James is staying a Cavs. So you did mention he's unsigned, but it's pretty clear that more likely he's staying.
It's etched in stone, yeah.
It's etched in stone. It's written in the stars. All right, we're going to take one last quick break here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, and Ben and I will come back to send you guys off for today. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
All right, we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. So, a little bit of fun news real quick before Ben and I get into just some remaining big names in the NBA free agency pool. But tennis player Dominika Chybolkova, okay? Remember that name? She's from, I believe, Russia. Yeah, she has played. No, not Russia. I'm sorry, I'm not flagged, so I can't help you. She's number 19 in the world.
Looks like Slovakia to me.
If that's the case, I believe you. Dominika.
I'm pretty good with this stuff
Chybolkova.
with like soccer.
That's
true.
true.
I'm gonna look
clever.
it up and we'll find out.
Sure. Well, she's number 19 ranked in the world. She just lost in straight sets to Russian Elena Vesina. But a fun thing was there's a silver lining to her. She was thrashed in the straight sets. If she had won today, she was seriously considering canceling her wedding, which is scheduled for Saturday.
Because of the Wimbledon?
Because of Wimbledon.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say canceling it. I would postpone it. And she is officially from Slovakia.
Good call.
So I'm good with these national flags. What can I say?
Slavic, man. And hey, guys, don't miss out on the next episode.
Cancel it. I would just postpone it.
True. And say, don't miss out on the next episode. We are going to update some Wimbledon for you with our German princess of the show, Angelique Kerber. She's just continuing to move, man. She plays Venus not Venus today, but she'll play her in the
semifinals.
She just beat number 5 in the world, Simona Halep, in straight sets. So we'll get into that, but let's get into a little bit more basketball, and then we will get out of here for this episode. So, who are some notable names that are still left?
Well, I'm not going to mention LeBron James.
Don't even bother.
So really, the remaining big free agent left is Dwayne Wade.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a free agent. He's putting talks on hold this week, so maybe he's waiting a little longer. I'm not sure why he would really do that. What do you think about Dwayne Wade? He's
weighing his options.
He's getting offered $20 million a year for 2 years from the Heat. There's been talks about him maybe going to the Knicks. The Knicks are doing a lot of things with Noah, Rose, Carmelo, Porzingis. You add Dwayne Wade in that mix, that would be a nice little team there.
Yeah.
So maybe even Cleveland teaming up with LeBron again. Where do you see Dwayne Wade possibly going?
I think he stays with the Heat. I really do. They did offer him a contract, apparently. As far as I have read, they offered him, I think, a 2-year, $40 million deal, is what I said to you.
Yep.
So they have extended him a contract. It doesn't say he's accepted it or anything like that, but they have extended him a contract. So I think he stays, honestly. I think he finishes his career out there. You see that so rarely nowadays. Guys finish the career where they started. Dirk, I'm glad that he's staying with the Mavs personally. So I think, personally, in my opinion, I think he's staying.
I don't know. I'm still on the fence about this. I could really see him going to Cleveland.
I would think that was pretty fun.
I think if he goes anywhere, it's to Cleveland. I would say maybe he does stay with the Heat. They're offering $20 million a year. I'm not sure if any other team can really match that. So at the end of the day, the money might be the most important thing to Dwayne Wade.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he goes anywhere, he goes to the Cavs, though. Teaming up with LeBron, they're great friends, coming off a championship. Really fits in there with J.R. Smith possibly leaving. He's still a free agent. He's on our list as well.
Still looking for a shirt.
No, I think he found one. He actually has a shirt, JR for President.
Oh, Lord. Also worth mentioning is the 2-year, $40 million deal that was extended to Dwayne Wade despite having that offer on the board. It still appears that there's quite an impasse between both parties, but the Heat, this is an ESPN thing I'm reading, so, all rights to them, but with the Heat remaining optimistic that the two sides will get a deal done. Reports are that Wade was only offered $10 million for the next season, have been overblown, but they're about $10 million apart on the total contract. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. Yeah, I think it would be very interesting to see if he goes to Cleveland. That'd be kind of weird. But I think, me personally, I think he stays with the Heat.
Okay, so there's a few more notables left on here. You mentioned earlier Dion Waiters, maybe with the Kings. He's still a free agent.
Drawing interest from a lot of places.
Yeah, J.R. Smith, Festus Ezeli. He is a restricted free agent, though, so Golden State do have the rights to match any offer he gets. Depending on how high it is, they could have trouble there with signing Durant. They don't have much money left over.
Mm-hmm.
Some other more notables here. Maurice Bates, formerly of the Warriors. A good perimeter big guy, can step out, hit the three. Maybe a team could use his services there as a backup. Provide some instant offense. Ty Lawson, former point guard of most notably is Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Did a lot of good things in Denver. He's had a lot of off the court.
I remember him from Denver.
He's had a lot of off the court issues though, so that might scare some teams away. Leandro Barbosa, also the Flash, the Brazilian Leandro Barbosa is a free agent.
I call him the who do you play for again?
For the Warriors.
Yeah, I called him. I had a clever name about pirates for him because it reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean. Captain Barbosa.
Yeah, there you go.
I said it one time and I was like, I should use that as a nickname.
I don't know, but also Ginobili looks like he wants to return for 1 year. So I think the Spurs probably just give him his 1 year, see out his career there in San Antonio. A guy you mentioned doesn't really happen that much anymore, staying with one team your whole career. So Ginobili could be in that mold.
Yeah, Duncan could be one. Ginobili, Parker, if any of them decide to not come back this next year, yeah, I would say we could have 3 off the same team.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. A couple of guys I like here on the tail end of this list. One of them is Lance Stevenson. Did a lot of great things in Indiana. Really had a falling off since then when he moved to Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was just a product of the system, but he really fit well in Indiana. You could probably get him for not much since he's had such a disappointing last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I like Gravis Vasquez, formerly of the Bucks. He's a good, solid backup point guard. Kind of big guy, so he can provide a lot of things. Rebounding, assists, passing, good perimeter shooter. So there is still some guys on this list that could benefit to your team as a sort of a role player role. Not necessarily the studs are all gone, but there is still some people to sign out there. We'll have to see where they go. So
it's gonna be interesting to look at, man, and obviously we'll keep you up to date on all of that. But it's time for us to go. It's time for us to get out of here for this episode. But we'll be back for another episode. Ben and I did talk about the fact that we will be talking about Wimbledon next episode. We're also going to be talking about yesterday's July 4th annual hot dog competition and competitive eating competitions as well.
I'm hungry myself. I didn't eat much breakfast, so I think I'll get a snack after the show today.
I told you when I got here that I get real motion sickness, motion sick, so I'm still kind of dealing with some of that from this weekend. But I'm sure I'll be hungry soon. I'm sure I'll get there. But as always, I'd like to thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. You guys can find us on Twitter at GSMC_sports, as well as on Instagram at the same handle. Don't forget to use hashtag GSMC Podcast Network when tweeting at us if you'd love to and like to tweet at us. You can find us on iTunes at the Golden State, GSMC Pod. I'm getting ahead of myself. GSMC Sports, where you can comment and you can review and rate us. We would love to see some ratings out there if you'd like. You can find us on our website at gsmcpodcast.com, where you can find all of the wonderful shows on our network, some shows that I'm on and some shows that Ben's on, and everything else in between.
That's right, and there's also some more upcoming that will come out later this year, early next year. A A lot of great things out there. So make sure you check it out. The website is really great. It's really easy to navigate as well, so you're not going to get lost on there.
It really is, isn't it?
The only problem you're going to have is picking what show to listen to because they're all worthwhile.
I like that. All right, well, it's time for us to get out of here today. As always, I'm Alex.
And I am Ben.
And we will see you guys on our next episode. Thank you so much for listening.
Have a good night.